This is a short video about morphological opening and closing of grayscale images in particular, and of binary images as well. So let's start with the definition. What do we mean by opening and closing? Well, opening and closing operations are combinations of erosion and dilation. Specifically, dilation followed by erosion is closing. Erosion and then followed by dilation is opening. So let's explore this further. Let's remind ourselves of what dilation and erosion are. So for the simplest possible case, which is, if you already know about this, a 3x3 structuring element where everything is a 1. Erosion is a case where each pixel, if all of its neighbors are white, is white, and otherwise is black. And dilation is the case where for each pixel, if all of its neighbors are black, then it's black, and otherwise it's white. So to keep this straight in my head, I find it helpful to think of the white pixels as land and the black pixels as like ocean or something. So erosion is removing land, and dilation is creating land, like a volcano or something. Of course, you can, take the inverse of the image and the operations become reversed, but this is an easy way to remember the convention. Just remember that land is white, and erosion removes it. So let's take this idea of erosion and dilation and generalize it some. So I was talking about neighbors before. Well, you can generalize the idea of neighbors to refer to a structuring element, which is sort of the mask that you apply to each individual pixel. And if all of the pixels match the mask, then in the case of erosion, that pixel will get to stay white, and in dilation, that pixel will get to stay black, and otherwise the pixel will flip. So this is the most simple case you're seeing here, where it's all ones in a 3x3 grid. You can have a 2x2 as well, or a 4x4, and you can have more complex shapes. For instance, you can say flip the value of the pixel if this map is not matched, where 0 you have to be a black pixel in the middle. And if you abstract it further, you can think of there being some pixels where we don't care what the value is. Although I haven't found a way to do this in MATLAB, it definitely is something you can do with image mask, or with erosion and dilation, with applying structuring elements to images. So that's relevant as well. Now, in all of the structuring elements we've seen so far, the pixel in question is the one in the middle. The one that we're looking at, the one that will be swapped or not, will be flipped or not, is the one in the middle, but this need not be the case. We can define what's called the origin, which is the pixel that we're going to operate on based on the values of the other pixels in the structuring element, to be wherever we like. So here I've just put an asterisk to indicate that we're talking about the corner here. It doesn't need to be the one in the middle. In fact, in here it's questionable which pixel is the middle. Okay, so now we want to talk about grayscale. So I've been talking here about binary images and not grayscale. Pixels were either black or white. But what do you do if you have a range of values? In the case of typical image, it would be 0 to 255, but it could be any number. It could even be doubles, which is, the computer approximation of a real number. So in the case of grayscale, what you do is, for erosion, you take, instead of saying if all of the elements are, or if any of the elements rather, are black, then the pixel will be black. You say take the blackest element of the relevant values in the structuring element and make that the value you change the pixel you're operating on to. And it's just the opposite for dilation. So for erosion, it's like taking the minimum of all of the elements, or of all the cells in the structuring element. And for dilation, it's like taking the maximum. There's also this idea of a non-flat grayscale structuring element. So what I talked about here, they're called flat. But in the case of a non-flat grayscale structuring element, before you compute the maximum or the minimum of all the cells, you add some value based on the location of the cell in the structuring element to that cell. And these aren't used very frequently. All the literature that I've seen says that they are not as useful as flat structuring elements. So you can probably not think about it too much, and it's okay, but they are there if you need them. And that's all I have to say about that. In the next video I'm going to make, there will be a couple of applications. I'll show you how to do some MATLAB operations on actual grayscale images, and we'll look at the results. And so stay tuned.